So some of you have asked me about my daily routine, and this is how I started. I have some tea. I like to see the yellow, orange kind of come up in the horizon. I think that's more stimulating than blue. I wouldn't do blue, so try not to look at your screens, but I get out here, wait for the tea to boil, and then I just look out. Now, maybe you might not be as lucky as I with regards to a great backyard. But you can find your nature window in the best part of the house. Find where you should sit. Sit there. Don't look at your computer yet. Just contemplate. You do breath exercises like 4, 7, 8. All right. So here's my tea. It's already turning green. I'm not sure if you can see the color, but this is boiling hot, as you heard my tea kettle brewing or whistling. So I'm gonna have to wait. So the cool thing about tea is that it teaches you patience. You actually have to. The Japanese version is you watch the tea leaves start to fatten up. I'm not sure if you could see that or not. Oops, almost like the soup. You just have to wait and stir and wait and stir. And it's very therapeutic. So I get up, I make my tea, I just sit and do breath exercise. The breathing exercises, if you wanted the cheapest way to start mindful practice, I think is breath. And because of all the systems that you are under control, like a skeletal system, the one in particular that has feedback back to the brain is the breath, the respiratory. Because when you move the diaphragm up and down, control that, it also stimulates the phrenic nerve. The phrenic nerve is a nerve that innervates it doesn't just go to, but it comes back from, it innervates the diaphragm. It goes up, and then it connects with sections 3, 4, and 5 of the cervical spine. 3, 4, and 5 keep the phrenic alive, is how I remembered it back in the 80s. And but bottom line is, if you control the diaphragm movement, you can also send signals to the brain. And you orchestra that's very fast and all over the place. If you give the orchestra movement and you let everybody in the orchestra see your movement, then the orchestra will sound better. Same thing with the brain. Your brain can certainly make the heart go fast, make the breath go fast. But I think backwards can happen too. There's some studies now that are thinking that if you can control the vagus nerve, you can actually go backwards and control the brain. And what's the best way? It's not really slowing down the heart. I think that takes a little bit of practice, but breath. So if you think of your breath as inhale and exhale, it's very simple, and you're not going to pass out, but just for the exercise of the morning, what I would do is break it into 4, 7, 8. And the way it is applied is you take the inhale part and you count over the course of 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And by the time you hit 4, your tank is full of air. And you hold it gently for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you breathe out for 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then you go back up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you go through that. A friend of mine, Andy Weil, who was my teacher at the Arizona Center for Integrative Medicine, Andy just explained the metrics to it and the number and the count, but there is science now. PhDs have studied breath exercise, Wim Hof exercise, Nadi Shodhana, Ujjayi, all the old-fashioned breath exercises. They do have some credibility, and science is backing it up now. So the idea is, the bottom line idea is that you inhale quickly and you hold. When you hold your breath, it tends to slow down the heart rate. Kind of like getting through, you can't swim, well, some people probably could, you can't swim all the way underneath the water for a 25-meter swim from one end of the pool to the other end. Might be able to do the short end of the pool if it's a regular-sized pool. But when you're holding your breath, you want to relax and move slowly. If you're holding your breath and going really fast, you'll never make it to the other side because your anxiousness will make you want to take another breath. So the breath holding turns on parasympathetic. It's part of the autonomic system. Autonomic system has sympathetic and parasympathetic, two different dichotomies. One is for fight or flight, the other is for love and relaxation. And you can't really have a foot in both worlds. You have to have one or the other. I think today with the internet, we're doing too much of sympathetic and we don't have enough of para. So sometimes holding a breath will be the introduction at the beginning of the day for parasympathetic. So that's that 7 count. And then the exhale being twice as long as the inhale. I think there's a concept where if you take a breath in and you let it go slowly, you play around with carbon dioxide. And I think carbon dioxide is the driver for taking inhales or exhales or slowing down the system. So that's the second component of slowing down. So when you do that on a rhythmic basis, I had to look away from the camera because I wanted to feel good, and then just in that few cycles of breath, shoulders, I let them soften up, and it's not dizziness. I was interviewed by, I forgot her name, the lady on Windy City Live, and I tried to lead her and the audience into breath exercise, but we didn't really explain it enough, and she actually got nervous. And I think that's a common misconception, is that when you hold your breath, you're going to pass out. You will never pass out. Which is why it's a cool mechanism, because if you just play around with that timer, if you mess up, the timer will take over on its own. You're not going to pass out. But if you do it for 30 seconds, I do it for about 10 minutes. If you do it for 30 seconds and that's all you can tolerate, that's cool. 35 seconds the next time. And then you do that, tolerate it. 40 seconds the next time. Just keep on building up. Now, in the video that I have, Andy said do it for like 10 cycles. I think I would push it just because it's so hard to find a mindful practice. And it's also a tough sell to go into introspection. But if you just want an introductory technique, I think the breath exercise is one. And if you do a breath exercise, try to do it over a scenic, nature-inspired view. And try not to pick up your phone just yet. Wait for the sun to come out. I got a late start today. I usually wake up at 5. But for some reason, it was 6:30. So if my brain needed it, it's Sunday. I'll let it have it. But I still have to, even if it's later in the day, I missed the sunrise. Yes, there is sun through the clouds. I still have this to start the ritual of the day. And that's what we have to do, is we have to, I think if you burn it up into your system and schedule enough, the brain will accept it as ritualistic, and then it won't be as hard to do. So when you initiate a new habit, there are 2 hormones in the brain, norepinephrine and dopamine. Dopamine says, I'd like to investigate a new habit. Norepinephrine might or might not go all in, but you have to be careful with that norepinephrine and adrenaline. That's the sympathetic part, because if you don't throttle it, it burns out, and then you get super fatigued and tired, and you won't do the rituals. So if you just have a little bite-sized ritual that you initiate, like breath in the morning, if you do it long enough, whether it's 21 days or 6 months, it doesn't matter. I say 21 days at the least, because 3 weeks is easy to remember. 5 minutes in the morning. My monk friend Bante says 2.5 minutes in the morning. Whatever it is, you choose a time, a certain amount of days or weeks, and just stick to it. And if it's a short bite-sized, after 21 days, the next 21 days, do it for a little bit longer and keep on adding to it. And then when you do it rhythmically over and over and over again, the brain will actually say, okay, it's not that hard of an idea. We now have the neural tracks in the brain burned. We know that that circuit is useful, and we're going to put it away as habit. Once it becomes a habit, easy. You don't even have to say, I want to do it just for 21 days. It just becomes easy to pull that circuit out and turn it on in the morning. So making your bed, if you do it every day, it starts the day. It's easy to accomplish. It's a reward. The dopamine is blossoming after you've done the reward, and you can start the day off with one chore out of the way, and then you get rewarded from that serotonin, and you get the next reward coming, and it's just daisy chain these rewards and you'll be successful, versus having too many things. You don't even do anything because it's like the brain says, and norepinephrine says, no way, I'm not doing anything, and you just lose the wind in your sail. And the other thing that I start out with is I try to pick an intention and set one intention for the day after I'm done my breath exercise. Today, I work out and I'm going to clean the basement, and that's my intention, because I think it'll help other people, and if it helps other people, it'll be useful for the world. I've just strung that together in my mind to make it an easy task.